there we go. So now you can see my screen and you can see what's going on in the class. Just going to minimize that a little bit. And I'm going to go into this thing called Adobe Dimension. It's an Adobe product that lets us work with 3D items. So I'm going to turn this version of the camera off since I'm recording it with this other one here. And it'll walk you through the process, but basically you can import an object. So if I go into Mudbox, which we've been using this week, and I open up one of my jack-o'-lanterns. By the way, yesterday, just as proof of concept, what I did is I painted up a jack-o'-lantern using my Chromebook only with remote access. And it worked out fine. I was pleasantly surprised. Just got to turn on my details here to check and see what the most current one is. Come on, where's the dates on there? Maybe it's this one? I did some painting on one of them. Maybe it's that one. Yeah, so this is the jack-o'-lantern that I was working on yesterday. I did both faces on it. Let me deselect everything, because when it's selected, you can't really tell what it looks like. So I'm going to go under Edit and deselect all. So now you can kind of see what it looks like painted. So what I did is I put two faces on this one. Did I do this with you guys? Think so, but I hadn't. Maybe, but I hadn't painted it. So then I started painting it up yesterday. I did all my painting on the Chromebook, which was really hard to see, but this isn't bad. And then I rendered a turntable movie, and I also grabbed a still image of it, which is something that I wanted you guys to practice yesterday. I'm going to turn off the wireframe because I don't like the wireframe if I'm not actually modeling. I got my grid lines turned off. I'm going to kind of center the object here. All right. And I already rendered these out. Now what I want to show you is how to get this into a different product, which would also work with getting it into the Unreal Engine. So let's see here. If I grab the pen tool, what we're going to do is we're going to be using the edit options here, and we're going to select all, and then we're going to export it. So it's going to be to select all, and then we're going to export this model. And when we export it, we're going to export it in a format called FBX. So that's the first part. So we need to go through these steps in order to make this model accessible in another area. So if I go into Edit, I'll see Select All, which is Control A, which is universal in my mind because we use it in other areas. And then under File, we're going to do Export Selection. And because we have it all selected, it's going to export the whole thing. And at this point, you'll notice I'm on my H drive. I finally remembered I have an H drive. And I'm going to call this jack-o'-lantern painted export. I don't know. You could just give it a name that you remember what it is. I did one yesterday, but I'm going to repeat it today so that you can see how it goes. FBX is a format. It's a format of a file that can be brought into other systems, including the Unreal Engine. Let me get back to my pointer here because I see public chat's fired up a couple of things. Let's see what's going on here. Oof. Okay. All right. Gavin's having a busy day between not much sleep and all. Let's see here. I'm going to, now that I've got it set up, now I'm back in this product called Adobe Dimension, which is in the lab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a model from the one that I just exported. So I played with this yesterday, and I know it's Control I for import. So Object, let's see here, Edit, File, Import. There we go. I'm going to import a 3D model. And I'm going to go right back where I was, which was the H drive. And you'll have an H drive where you're saving your work as well. The advantage there is you'll be able to get to your H drive no matter which machine you're on. Oh, this is saying object file. I didn't save it as an object file, which is another importable version. So let me see what I did wrong there. Import 3D model. Recent. Sorry, I've used this like all of like 2 times in my life. Let's see here. Add content. That's that. Well, first, just to start with, I'm just going to grab a laptop and throw it in the scene, just so you can see there's a 3D object being provided as an object that you can use. And I'm going to scroll so that I can see more of the scene here. So there's a 3D object, and you can do a rendition, which is using a separate function to create a beautiful scene that you can further edit. But what I'm going to do now is I want to bring in another object. I'm going to use Control I, which I believe is import, but that goes to object. I know I did this yesterday with an FBX. Well, I'm just going to go into help here. And I'm going to get into dimension help, and I want to see how to import an object. So help opened up on the same screen. I'm not recording, so let me bring it over. And I'm in Dimension, Import FBX. So it does support FBXs. That's what I thought. It talks about the file types. And you can export as well. So how do I do the import? What's the actual... Well, it's not telling me what the how-to. I want to look at importing. So I'm going to go back into search, and I'll look for importing. So Dimension is their product that takes the 3D a 3D modeling. You can do a 3D workspace in Photoshop as well. So we're basically going to do a scene visualization here, right? With this is what we're going to do. I wonder if I can just drag it in. I'm going to just get creative here. I'm going to find a 3D model and try to bring it in. So I'm going to go to my H drive. If it doesn't show it as the H drive, I just need to go like this. There's my FBX file. I'm going to drag it in. Now it's giving me a hard time. I did this yesterday. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go back in Mudbox and I'll export it as a OBJ. Here's a different version of the same guy. I decided to add him, turn him into kind of a biped character, because maybe I'll want to animate him a little bit. So I'm going to export this one. First I have to select it all, Control A. And I'm going to do my export. I'm going to export it as an OBJ, which is an object type. I'm putting that on the H drive, and this should resolve the issue where it's giving me a hard time about FBX. So now when I do my import, Control I for import into this product, and I go to my H drive as I did a minute ago, lo and behold, I should see my object file to import. Now, depending on the scaling and number of units, I might not see it until I move back further, which I'm in the middle of this object right now. There it is as an object file. So there's my guy I brought in. It's below the surface. I'm using these transform objects to move them around in 3D space. And I'm going to switch over to rotate. Now, there are 3 main things you're going to find in all of our 3D products: move, scale, and rotate. And so moving gives you these 3 connecting arrows where you can move something around. So, and rotate lets you move things around, rotation, X, Y, and Z. So the other side of this should be the one-eyed guy. Now, the OBJ file did not bring in the material on it, so it's not very pretty. I want to bring in the FBX. The way I figured this out, to be honest with you, is I went through this tutorial that shows in the corner here. Turn your camera, pan your camera, zoom in, drag in a second model. Move the model. Okay. Scale the model. Rotate the model. Just talked about all that stuff. Change materials. All right. So materials is something that kind of looks like a paint option, but it's actually a material. As this is going on, I can grab this material and throw it on the object. So at least he's orange. Make a metallic. It might look kind of cool metallic. Yeah, I like that. Brush steel. Like that. Glitter. Glitter jack. That looks really bad. I don't like that at all. So what's really cool is you can put your logo on your object in here. It could be on the computer screen. It could be on your jack-o'-lantern. So what you're going to be working on for Friday is a showcase piece that you've rendered out a version of a scene. So I've changed the material. Now I'm going to put a background. Actually, you can bring a logo out. So let's see if I grab this brand logo and throw it on this object. I can then place it on here. I can do a rotation, etc. So this could be my logo, or it could be a logo that I grabbed for a stock. I would like you to use yours. So I've got a logo I put on it. That's a separate layer. And then I can actually bring a background scene in. So I can make this look like it's happening in a particular area. It's importing a scene right now. So if I grab, I'll grab this table and I'll throw this table in here. So now that I got a table, I probably want to move my laptop and my jack-o'-lantern so they line up with it. So if I click on an object and use the move tool, I can move this so it looks like a statue on the table, just kind of lining it up in 3D space. I went too deep. It's below the floor. So I'll put him in the foreground. This laptop is in the background, or actually I can move it up closer. Now moving in 3D space is something that takes a little bit of practice. That jack-o'-lantern is huge compared to this laptop. I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to get right in the middle so I do it in a uniform scale. If I don't have all three axes selected like so, I'm going to skew it in a certain way. I'm going to rotate my object here. And I'll go back to the move tool. There are shortcuts for this, I'm sure. I just don't know them by heart because this is a new product for me. And I'm going to try to set it on the counter. That looks like it snapped to the counter. So now I've got a laptop in the corner. I've got my jack-o'-lantern. I've got a logo on it. It says match scene to image, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to fix the lighting a little bit for me. By the way, I won't be able to update what's in the lab here. Interesting. Okay. So I've kind of lost track of the edge of this laptop by doing that. So I can move this stuff out a little bit more. And now I'm going to preview in the render. So preview, I'm going to switch over to where it says render at the top here. And it's going to prepare the scene so that I can render it out. And then when I'm done with that, I'll click on the word render. And it's actually going to come up with a scene, higher quality, that shows my objects with that background with some simulated light. There's a lot of things you can play with in this, but we're going to end up with a scene that shows our jack-o'-lantern in a simulated background. So in the past, I had focused on doing things like 3D movies for your... Cool, Gavin's back. It's alive. It's alive. All right, so I don't know how this looks to you. The screen looks really bad to me on the laptop with no image here. So that's something I'm going to want to fix. I'm going to want to maybe change I'm going to want to change a few things. But when I'm happy with it, I'm going to save a copy of it. And that's going to be my showcase piece for the week. So every Friday, starting in Q2, you're going to develop something to go into your portfolio. If you've built a 3D model, you can put it in here and show it off. So I want to know how you guys feel about the idea of using Dimension in the lab. So I'm going to start a poll here. I want to see. Oops, sorry, I didn't give you your options yet. This is a bit in the way. Bring public chat open, then I can get to the poll. Custom poll. All right, so I'm going to start a custom poll. I want to see, based on the demo that I did, what do you think? Does this seem like it's doable? Is this like way too much? Do you want to get in there and play around with it? Do you have an issue connecting to the lab, or are you just not sure what's going on? As that's going on, please do vote. I'm going to go into the Google Classroom and see where we're at here. No work due. What? Oh, that's the wrong classroom. Got to go into this one. Cool. Let me view these. Go into the calendar. All right, so today is Thursday, Schoology assignment. Please make sure you go in there. I'm basically finding out, are people able to connect to the lab in official means? I'm trying to get an official response because I want to be able to report back to sending schools if there's an issue. I think we're okay. Even 127 Grays Lake North and Central, I think, has fixed it. I can pause my demo as I talk about it and get this down as far as I can. There, now I got, if you want to be part of the Zoom board, then get in nice and close on the screen so I get a good shot of your head. And you can either pretend you're sleeping like a student, or you could like just look like you're interested. If you don't want to be part of the Zoom board, don't worry about it, okay? And I'll go ahead and I'll do a print screen for that in 3, 2, 1. Okay, got it. I think Abney's going to end up in it. That was pretty hilarious. So let me show you what I got there. I'm going to do a paint, and then I'll paste this. So this is what I got. Got some pretty disinterested students. So I can throw those onto my Zoom board and then have the one screen, and I'll have a hole for myself looking through. All right. Is that fun? Sure, why not, right? Okay, thanks for playing along. I'm going to resume the recording. All right, question was asked, how do I bring in my logo to put it on something? So I'm going to first add an object here. I'm going to go into the starter assets, and I'm going to find an object here. Pipe, let's see what we got here. What shape? Filter. This would be just a pipe. I'm just going to bring a pipe in. I'm going to scale it up. So I'm going to first move it into the scene a little bit better. And I'm going to make this pipe larger by using the scaling tool. Get myself in the middle and make it larger. And I plan on putting a logo right there on this object. I'm going to move it so it's not blocking Jack in the background. There's a pipe. It's just an object to put it on. And here under starter assets, I'm going to click up here where it says import, graphic, image, place graphic as detail. Now I need to find my logo. So if I look at my logo here, see if I can find one that looks better. If I go to my game programming, I've got a folder out there called Messages for Student Screens. There it is. And I might have something that would look cool as a logo in here. That one's called logo. So I'm going to try to bring in this Photoshop file because it's an Adobe product. There it is. So I threw my Tech Campus logo right on that object. And that could be your logo as well. So if I go to my jack-o'-lantern and I rotate it around to show the other side, I'm going to put a logo on the jack-o'-lantern on this side over here. So same thing with the object selected. I'm going to click on the file import, and I'm going to import it as a graphic detail. And I'm going to grab a different graphic. Let's see here. I am a Stegosaurus. I'll grab the old logo, which I kind of like. There it is. Whoa. That looks so bizarre. Yeah, it looks so bizarre. So it's using a projection method. So now I've got my logo projected onto my jack-o'-lantern. How did I get the 3D model imported again? Good question. Hey, Jason, I see your message. In a minute, I'm going to have you share your screen, and we're going to work through it together. So I want to bring in a model here. So what I'm going to do is click on File and then use the option that says Import. It says 3D Model here. When I get to that point, I'm looking for where I've got my model saved. It's going to be on the H drive. This is where I saved it as an export. First thing you got to do, and maybe I should back up, is you need to go in Mudbox, select your whole object, and do an export. Just keep track of where you save it, which should be the H drive. Then you should be able to import it. I wonder if I could just type override this to star.fbx. I did. I put in star.fbx. There's my painted version. I'm going to click on open. So that's not working like it did last night. Well, you can bring it as an OBJ until I figure out how to get the FBX. The FBX will bring in the color with it as well. So that's what I want you to work on for Friday and to get turned in is a scene that's got this. I'm going to bring in the background, if I can find it, from out in front of the school. So let me see what I can do about that. If I import an image as a background, now I've got to remember where I might have saved the pictures that I took. I think I put them in start of year here. I better change my view to thumbnails because I'm not going to be able to know what I called it. There we go. I think that's session 1. There we go. So I'm loading this image from the day that we were out front. And now I can actually arrange my scene here. I'm waiting for somebody who's in the scene to ask for this to be mailed to them. I just know it's going to happen. That looks a little weird. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm just going to delete this object here. I'm going to delete this object as well. Public chat. Okay, good. I'm going to import another object if I can. 3D model. I'm going to go to my H drive. Only got the one as an OBJ. I got to figure out how to get an FBX in there. and their textures. Let's see if this helps me.
Potato for Adobe, and today we're going to look at Adobe Dimension and OBJ files. I'm a big fan of DAZ 3D and I like using their products. And if you use OBJ, you may have come across this with DAZ 3D, specifically their OBJ files, but there are probably other apps that may do this as well. So you bought this nice little robot file and you exported the OBJ from DAZ Studio. That would be a whole other tutorial if you want. If you want that tutorial, put the comments in there saying you want it and maybe I'll make it. So anyway, you got your file, you export the OBJ file, and then you bring it into Adobe Dimension. So you're expecting it to look, rusty and all that, but what you have is this. And you're pretty much saying to yourself, what the heck happened? Well, it's a really easy fix. You can go to the MTL file, which is located in usually your files. If you're familiar with these formats, you'll notice there's an MTL file. It's a material file that's a text-based format, and you can open it up and remove these forward slashes that you see here. This one forward slash at the beginning of this directory structure. I've removed most of the other ones already, but I'm just showing you really quickly those. I removed them on all the rest as well. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So now that path should be really, really nice and make Dimension really happy. So we're going to go ahead and remove this file. I'm going to go ahead and just, since I have it right here, drag and drop my robot. And let's see what happens. They should have materials. Oh, look how tiny it is. All right, there you go. It has the materials, and that's it. That's an easy fix, and you will have your materials.
All right, so I'm going to try to do the same thing here. I'm going to try to recreate it. And you guys will be doing the same thing, to be honest. You'll find that help is okay, but sometimes you can just Google an answer and get to it quicker. So he used a different product to actually do his modeling, but that's not essential to my understanding here. Do I have this thing painted up yet or not? I'm gonna deselect everything. Yeah, I've got it painted up. And I was in the process of figuring out how to, maybe add a nice blue color. Turn off the mirror on my paintbrush here. So that what I want to do here is just kind of like giving myself a little bit of a blue on this eye, and maybe a nice disturbing red dot in the middle of it. So I'm going to switch my paint swatch color here to a different color. And I will make myself lined up a little bit better with the object. I'm going to use a different stencil here just to make sure it's really focused. By using S, I'm going to kind of position the stencil so that it's actually on the center, and it'll keep me from coloring outside of the line, so to speak. So I'm going to use the tool that's here to line up where I want my red dot to be. So I want this to be kind of I'm going to make it smaller. Maybe I want them looking off at a slight angle a little bit. With the bulge I've got built in there, I'm going to do it like so. Paintbrush is going to be appropriate. Now, even though the brush is bigger than that hole, if I paint here, that stencil keeps it to the spot that I want it to be. And then I might want to add some speckles on top of that, just so that it's got a little bit more interest, kind of a glimmer. So I'm going to switch my paint color here to something that would almost be like a sparkle on top of the red. Make sure my size is down. And I'm just going to paint a little bit. There we go. So now I've got an eye with a red dot, a little bit of highlight in it. It doesn't look super 3D. If I wanted to bulge this out a little bit, I could just switch over to my sculpt tool, and I can actually bulge this middle so it pops out a little bit. I'm going to get rid of my stencil. There we go. So now I've bulged his eye out just a little bit more in the middle. That looks good and funky. Actually, I don't like that. I'm going to undo it. I don't like the bulge. I think it's fine the way it is. So I've painted on some details here. Good, Gavin. I think what's going on, and I'm not sure, is that you might have a newer version where you're at, which is great. I'm really glad if that's the case. Because if the lab is more up to date than me, that's better than if I'm more up to date than you guys. And I'm showing you again how to use a stencil to control your paint flow a little bit here. I want to make sure I'm locked down to the back aspect, and I'm going to use S plus the middle mouse button to line this up. Cheat the angle a little bit here, and move this right up here so I can kind of limit the area that I'm painting in by using a stencil. Because I'm not an artist, I can use all the help I can get. So what should the inside of the jack-o'-lantern's mouth look like? This is kind of lined up with where a tongue might be. So I'm going to go ahead and paint some type of a detail like a tongue in here. And because he's a creature that's maybe plant-based, I'm going to go ahead and paint some kind of a greenish color inside of him. And I can switch over to my stencil and move my stencil over. I can adjust the angle if I want to make sure I'm kind of sticking with the whole flow here. And then when I get back to my paintbrush here, I can just paint in some more details. And this is keeping me from painting all over my model. So just because I'm not a good artist, and I've learned how to use basically whatever I can to help me so I don't mess up too bad. And so you don't need to perfect your work here. I'm just taking my time in doing this because if I'm going to make a model that you guys are going to look at and go, okay, his was terrible, so therefore mine should be terrible, I want to at least give you an idea that, yeah, you can use the tools that are available to you to fix it up. I need to undo that. See, I did an oof over there. All right, so his mouth is painted up good enough. And this is, you know, I want a reasonable amount of effort, which is what I'm putting in here, a reasonable amount of effort. But I'm not expecting you guys to be artists because, well, we're not all artists. Sometimes we're going to be programmers. So eventually this is going to be out in front of the school in my scene. Any questions about what I'm doing here? Yeah, Hayden, I agree that if you save it as an OBJ, it's not carried it. I did watch a video here that should show me how to fix that problem if I get into a documentation file in effect. Oh, the bottom of the pumpkin just looks totally wrong at this point. Based on it looking almost anatomically weird right now. Let's switch this around. It's got a bit of an angle on it. Yeah, I get it. Try to save it as an FBX file. It's just when I do that, I think my version of this Adobe Dimension is not the same version that you've got. So I'm dealing with without the update, I don't know how well it's going to work for me. So I'll have to let the tech department know that it looks like I'm back a version, which happens. Now this might be easier if I just move my model and get in closer. I turn my stencil off. I'm just going to freehand this if I can. That's off. Paintbrush size down. Off. Paintbrush. Too small. Oh, it's size of 0. It's pretty small. I'm freehanding it now. Don't have a pen, so who knows how well it's going to work out. Yep. This reminds me, I need to get to the dentist soon to get my teeth cleaned. All right, so if you're connected to the lab and you're doing stuff like this, this is exactly what I want you to do. If you're not connected to the lab, I want you to be letting me know so I can work with you on getting connected to the lab. You're going to really want to be connected to the lab when we jump into Unreal, because and you're also, by the way, going to want to have access to a mouse. When I was doing this work at home on a Chromebook without a mouse, I was like, ugh. If you don't have a mouse and you need a mouse, see if you can borrow one from a different machine when you're online doing this work. Even if the school didn't give you one, you might have one. Most Chromebooks are kind of plug and play with the pointing devices. And there is, I don't know if anybody has, it's kind of obscure, but if you have the Nintendo Wii, there's a couple of drawing pads that were bundled in case anybody ever got, like, there was a Mickey Mouse drawing game that came with a sketch pad. And depending on the drivers that are needed, you might be able to get away with using that. The fall off is much better with this paintbrush when I'm not using that stencil. You guys can open up your mics and talk, ask questions. If you need help with something, please do. I feel like I'm putting lipstick on a pig, so to speak. He looks more happy now, a little less evil. Oh, this guy just looks sad and horrible. I'm doing all of this on the same paint layer, which is probably not the best idea. I would probably be better working on different paint layers for different parts of the jack-o'-lantern.
Hi, Mr. Judge.
Yes, sir.
I sent you a private chat. I had some questions because
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
You have notes mentioned myself. Is it right? Are you asking about the Blender part?
No, I need to set up a Autodesk account, and I didn't do that because I was using Blender.
Yes. You should be able to use Lake County Tech Campus with the student ID to get access to it. I know a couple of people that are on chat right now have been able to install it at home. It's not a requirement, but if you got the opportunity, it would give you some more tools. And I'm not a Mudbot. I'm sorry, I'm not a Blender guy. If I didn't have access to the lab here, I would probably be a Blender guy. But because I've got access to it here, is what I do. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just set up an account?
Yeah, there should be. I did set up a YouTube video on my channel on getting access to free software that walks you through that. I know it was in the last classroom. In other words, not quarter two, but the fall classroom. That's still up and running. Let me take a look for you and see if I can find it for you. I'll send you a link if I can.
Has anyone been able to transfer their Mudbox jack-o'-lantern to the Dimension?
Yeah, I have, but not with all my material.
Did you use the lab, or were you able to like transfer the jack-o'-lantern to your like computer to like then put into the Dimension?
I transferred it over to my computer, so I used the lab and transferred it over to my computer.
I tried to do that as well. I emailed myself on the lab of the like jack-o'-lantern, and then I tried saving it like 3 times, but like it's not, keeps on not appearing whenever I try to open it on the Dimension.
I can try to show it to you.
So I should go ahead and record this. So I'm working on setting up as a student an account on Autodesk. Remember the word student. Oh, so I've already done this for the student. So when I get in here, I'm going to use Google to sign in. Is how I'm going to do it. If I can. I bet you I use the same one if I set this up. I would not have changed the password. I don't need to do two-part authentication on this. Remind me later. So I've already authenticated this, and I've got it set up here. And then education plan, distance learning resources, get certified, showcase your designs, get products. There we go. So then you should have the educational access from here. If you haven't done it, we're going to come through here. We're going to go to USA. Uganda. Do you know the way? United
Wait, sorry.
States.
How do I get to educational benefits?
So where I did is I logged in, and then I see this thing over here. It says products, get products, right here. You with me?
Yeah, but I don't see the unlock educational access part. I just see
Down
all
here
the
it says already have educational access. Sign in, and what? How did I just find it? Oh, there you go. Click on get started. That's the link.
get started.
Yeah.
Like where?
I'll show you.
All right,
It's okay. You're good. So right here it says get started. This link right here.
Yeah, I don't see that. I just see the products, even though I'm signed in.
So when you signed in using your Tech Campus email?
Yeah.
You want to share your screen? I can take a look at it with you.
I'm on my personal computer. It's not hooked up.
Got it. That would be awkward with the webcam. I wouldn't be able to see it very well. All right. So do you see? This is your website. Is it autodesk.com/education? Are you at that site?
It's just autodesk.com.
So you need to go to the education site. /education. I'll go back a couple. And
Okay, yeah, no, I'm in education/home.
Good.
When I
So
press product, wait, get products?
yeah, so then look for get products right there.
Okay, now it's saying get started.
Cool. So we're on the same page. That's good. I'm glad that happened, because the more that happens, the more that somebody watching the video will be able to go, hey, it's not working. So then we click on get started, and you're probably ahead of me a click now. And I was just talking about Uganda, but we're going to get to United States of America. I don't know if sometimes this, anyhow, I start typing United and all of a sudden I'm on Italy. United States. So select student. So I'm thinking you should be able to go high school, secondary. If need be, we'll go with CLC ID, but let's do high school, secondary. And make sure you put in something that makes you at least 13. I was going to say 2000, but I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm really stupid. 2002. All right. So already signed in. Same password. This one. All right. So now that it says here we'll need to confirm your eligibility, learn more, or click get started. I'm kind of stuck in a loop here. So I think what I'm going to do down here is look for Mudbox. There's a lot of products here you can get to. Almost too many. See if I do a search for Mudbox, if I can find it easier. Can't find Mudbox on here. Okay, I need to step away for a minute. I see somebody outside of the room that wants to come in and talk to me, so I'm going to stop sharing my webcam and my mic. I'll be back in a minute. Back.
You are now muted.
I'm back.